Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Be More Connected Summit, the summit dedicated to centering our wellness, personal power, and leadership while serving the world. My name is Elise Preston, and I'm your host. And today, our guest is the wonderful Natalie Miles, spiritual mentor, psychic medium, and host of the So You Think You're Intuitive podcast. Hi, Natalie. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's just such an honor to be here and to be part of the community.
Wonderful. And I'd love to start by just asking you about your journey of healing and what's gotten you to where you are today.
Oh, where do we start?
It's a big question.
That's a big question. So my work's all about guiding people to connect to their own intuition and their own inner power and their own inner truth, and how it's all about kind of navigating those themes. And so for me personally, it's been a time of really kind of learning through the lower points and the rock bottoms and the change and transformation, and bringing back my intuitive gifts to help me on that path. It's definitely I grew up psychic intuitive as a child, and I pushed it away in my 20s and tried to ignore it, and then it was just it came back in my early 30s really loud and clear. And it's a tool that has provided me a way to really access my own inner power that we all have. We're all born intuitive, we're all born psychic, whatever label that you want to give it, because it's hard to label this work sometimes too. So that's been my healing journey, and honestly on a day-to-day basis I'm still on my healing journey. Every day I'm learning something new. I'm seeing a block or some shadow that I've not that I'm holding on to or I'm not looking at. And it's, for me personally, my intuition is a gateway for me to look at more of the shadow work and the healing work that I need to do on myself.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing about your journey. And I think that a lot of us can relate to that feeling of going through the process of our own shadow work, our own healing work, and exploring how to connect more with our inner power and showing up in the world in a way that feels really authentic to us. And just from following your work, I have really appreciated the way that you have been teaching about this concept of energetic self-sovereignty. And I would love if you could share a bit about that with our audience.
Yeah, most definitely. More so than ever, it's really important that we energetic self-sovereignty is like that you are in charge of your energy. We all have self-sovereignty over the energy in our bodies, and our own energy, but also how we interact with the outside world, and other people and other people's emotions and feelings. And it really became clear that in the new age world we talk about protection a lot. I gotta protect myself, I've gotta and it doesn't feel right. It just feels like it's a really energetic shut off of well, hang on a second, I still want to interact energetically with the outside world, but I don't want to have to take it all on, especially as so many of us identify as empaths and highly sensitive people. It's about how we can bring in the tools and ways that we can still interact with other people, situations, the news, things we're following, but also be like, okay, my energy, I have access and need to be in my own power of how I connect to my own energetic self-sovereignty. Because and it's, with everything happening in the world right now, it is such an important tool, because it can really, without you realizing, can make you feel like you're taking on other people's energy. It can make you feel like you're not in your own energetic body. It can make you feel really fragmented, especially, and I know a lot of people who are watching this are going to be healers and leaders as well. we want to help other people, we want to guide other people, but that sometimes can also mean that we put ourselves last and everyone else first, and that's also really important when we, you know, practice that energetic self-sovereignty. Is like, I need to be in my energy and have that dialed in before I can go and help other people as well. So yeah, I've got yeah, I share lots of tools and practices on how you can connect to your own energetic self-sovereignty. Yeah, for example, turning off from social media and the news. And this isn't about like ignoring feelings and emotions. Like, notice the feelings and emotions that are coming up for you from the news and the social media. It's so important for us to not spiritually bypass and be like, oh, this is all love and light, you know, let's just put some love on it, and ignore our feelings and emotions. Like, that's so important right now.
Ooh, yeah.
But we also need to remember that it's looking at social media and the news, seeing what you need to see, and then being like, okay, now I give myself permission to turn off Facebook, to delete Instagram off my phone for a little while. And I do this now at weekends. Like, I will delete apps off my phone. And recently, with everything happening, I'm like, okay, I'm reading the news in the morning, and I'll and at night, but I can't be on all the time consuming all this information, because it really affects me energetically. So that's one way of doing it. I love.
Yes. And I have noticed in some situations with myself, as I've been working to strengthen my own energetic self-sovereignty, that in some situations it can cause an impact on others because they're uncomfortable with that shift and change. And I'm wondering if you have any advice that you would share around navigating that as we kind of step into more of our own power around how we are supporting ourselves and our own energy.
That's such a good question. Yeah, how on earth do we navigate everyone else and their reactions to it?
Sure.
When, for me personally, when I've been bringing it for myself, it's just like, it's really allowing yourself to step into it and know your own truth, and knowing what is being mirrored back to you is also your kind of uncertainty sometimes around creating the boundary. And sometimes it can come up as a like a mini test of like, oh, do I really want to be doing this? And it's like, okay, yeah. And when you do set the boundary, it sometimes takes a while for people to catch up, and sometimes you might need to repeat it more than once because they didn't hear you the first time, or they thought that this was some kind of temporary measure that you were bringing in versus it being like a real deal. And
Sure.
People are adaptable, and I know it can be tough when you're doing it, especially with family members or friendships, but those people, the friends and the family members that that respect your energy, will always be there too. And you just, it's part of that shadow healing work around that as well, because sometimes when we set these boundaries, it can bring up things for other people that they need to learn and develop from, and it also can definitely bring up your own things when you create these healthy boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it is really important for all of us to continue to support each other in this process, because when we're able to do some of this shadow work and boundary work in community and really have those safe people that we can go to process as we're going through the stickiness and the uncomfortable emotions, it just makes it so much more supportive. And I was loving listening to the most recent episode of So You Think You're Intuitive with Krista and Lindsay of Almost 30. And loved how you were diving into just talking a bit about friendship and sisterhood and really honoring the feminine. And I was wondering if we could just kind of jam on that a little bit, and how that's been showing up for you in your life right now.
Oh, yeah. The feminine are rising. Seriously, with everything happening right now, women are standing up. And that's not just, you know, and that's Everyone's feminine. You don't just necessarily have to be a woman or identify, you can identify as a woman. We all have feminine energy within us, but really it's stepping up. It massively
Exactly.
is. It's my female friendships right now are, everyone is like binding together and being really supportive of each other and checking in on each other and are you okay, and giving each other ideas and allowing ourselves to express our emotions, which is so beautiful, that we can all be really vulnerable with each other and
Mm.
it's not going to be taken advantage of or used against us in some way. Like for me personally, like I struggled as a kid growing up within female friendships, like it was always something. But I do really feel like that as the more traditional masculine patriarchal systems and structures begin to fall down in our world, the feminine is really stepping up. And we're also realizing that when we come together as groups and communities,
Mm.
women are we're strong, we're emotional, we have all the elements that when we really connect into our own inner power as individuals, and then we come together as collective and community, oof, watch out, it's powerful.
Super powerful. And particularly at this moment in time that we're finding ourselves in this very unprecedented, unpredictable time, I was wondering if you could speak about your relationship with spirit and how that's been supporting you.
Yeah, it's been my go-to, like really connecting to my own intuition and giving myself permission to slow down, notice. Like when people say, "Well, how do I connect to my intuition?" Like, how do I do that in times like these? Um, for me, I would say it's about slowing down, noticing the themes and the patterns and the conversations that are happening in your life because they are trying to get your attention in some way, and allowing that to flow. Um, actually calling on your spirit team for support, like actually calling in your ancestors, calling in your spirit team, calling in if there are any loved ones that you really want to hear from and you want their additional support, and just saying, you know, I really want to connect to you. I really want to feel your energy. I need your support right now while I go through all this change and this uncertainty, and I don't know what's coming up for me right now. And we are in a time of slowing down. We are being asked to have, we've been asked to have this collective pause, and it's for a reason. Because in this collective pause, we're not just seeing what's wrong, inverted commas, wrong, or we're seeing the truths in our collective of what needs to change, but we are also being shown on an individual basis what is in my life that I need to look at, that I haven't been giving myself permission to look at, because I've been running from A to Z. I have been filling my life with my diary. I have not wanted to look at that shadow part of myself because I don't really want to look at the truth. And
Mm.
this collective pause is like, oh shit, there's nowhere to hide. Like
Right.
we have to look at this as individuals and as a wider collective, global family. And so that's how I'm using my intuition right now,
Yeah.
is looking at what I need to look at in this collective pause and space, calling them in for support, knowing that I'm not alone, and getting that guidance and really listening, creating the space of that intuitive pause so I can make intuitive based decisions that aren't based out of fear and uncertainty, and really cultivating that.
Beautiful. And I'd love to hear a little bit more of your take on a bit of the energy that is present right now, and any messages that you'd like to share with the collective about getting curious and how to use this time in a way that can really serve us and the people that we're seeking to become.
Yeah, great question. I love the fact that you use the word curious, because we're having to be curious. We're having to be adaptable. We're
Mm.
having to look at what our priorities are, what's important to us, who's important to us, which relationships are important, what things we want to cultivate, what things we want to let go. We're really being shown what lights us up and what doesn't.
Mm.
And it's a powerful transformational time, and yes, it brings a lot of uncertainty and change, and unfortunately there have been, thousands of deaths across the planet. But in this change, we have the hope that this is all for a reason. Like, this is all a divine plan, or we're going to look back at this time and be like, oh, well, potentially this needed to happen so that X, Y, and Z could happen. Like, political structures needed to change, our social systems needed to change, how we look after the vulnerable, how we actually look after our people, and community, and bringing community together. And so it's this kind of really interesting time of how we can't socialize with each other, because we're recording this back at that time if you're listening in the future.
Right.
um, we can't socialize with each other in person, but we're still finding that community within the power of technology. And wow, like, we're actually using the technology of how it really should be used for as well. Like, it's it's a strange but beautiful time that we're going to look back on, and we're seeing what's important. So yeah, there's so much to share in it. I could talk for a really long time. I could talk for ages about it. But I'm looking, there's more to channel through, and there's an interesting energy of like, what's the difference between being as a leader, because I know there's lots of leaders cultivating, their communities and their platforms. What's the difference between reacting to what's happening on the outside and responding? And
Mm.
sometimes, again, that energetic self-sovereignty piece, as a leader, we suddenly feel like, ah, shit, I've got to offer things, I've got to say something, I've got to do this. And then it's that, oh, well, hang on a second, am I saying this because I'm reacting and I haven't got all my words together yet? Versus allowing your own energy and allowing yourself to be in your own energy, so that you can actually truly respond as a leader
Mm.
to what you actually truly want to say about something,
Right.
and giving yourself permission to get to that space where you feel ready to respond as well.
Sure. And this kind of brought up two questions for me. And the first is, how are you staying connected during these times? And the second is touching on that leadership piece. How are you finding that this is impacting your role with your community? And how are you stepping into or expanding your leadership during this time?
Yeah, great questions. The leadership for me, stepping up into that role, is like, I mean, I channel like an energy forecast, a monthly energy forecast for the month ahead, that basically is like, this is the energy, this is how we navigate it, these are the themes, these are the tools that you can bring in to help you. For me personally, that's where I've been leading more, in that space where it's
Those
like,
have been super powerful, by the way.
thank you. It's yes, guiding people to realize that they have their own intuitive power within them to really step into during this time, so that they can trust their own inner truth versus the truths of the exterior world of what they're being told, and guiding them to that. Yeah, and this is the what I feel like my work has been building to these moments, for this time of being able to be like, well, hey, Nat, why do you think we got you to start a podcast? Why do you think we're getting you to channel information about the energy for the collective? They're like, it's all because moments of like this are here and are going to continue to come up. And that's what we're asking you to do. And so for me to stay connected to this time, I'm really connecting to my community in new ways. you know, of saying like, how can I support you? Like, how can I, you know, yes, I offer lots of different ways to work with me, free through the podcast, and offering free online events during this time, so that to make things accessible. That's always been my mission, is like, I want to make connecting to your intuition accessible. I want to make connecting to spirit, source, the universe, however you want to describe it, whatever label resonates to you. I want to make it accessible because it's needed, and also to help people that, yeah, they can access the power within themselves. So yeah, that's how I'm staying connected, is in that way. And to flip it a little bit, sometimes disconnecting to connect, like,
Can you say more about
actually
that?
back into the energetic self-sovereignty part of, like, sometimes you need to disconnect to the exterior noise and the exterior fear and the exterior chaos. It's not spiritual bypassing where it's like, it's not happening, but just that disconnect, so that you can reclaim your own energy, so that you can connect further and deeper to yourself, and lead your communities, and be part of your communities, and be there for your friends and your family members as well during these times, because that disconnection point is important.
So true. And in this time when we are experiencing so much social disconnection, it is a little bit of a jolt to our system in terms of just figuring out how we're reorganizing our time and our priorities, and to really be able to give ourselves a genuine pause. I like that thread that you pulled through, disconnecting to connect, because it almost seems counterintuitive, but sometimes it's really necessary for us to be able to really tune in and tap in with ourselves and with our intuition.
This is it's a powerful yin time, you know, it's a powerful slowdown. Again, it's part of that societal conditioning where we've been told that we have to achieve, we have to do, we have to be on to the next thing, that we have to have success, that we have to have money. Like, it's all part of that reworking where we've been told that that's what we have to do as people. And suddenly it's like, the universe, spirit, whatever label you want to use, is like, okay, this has gone on too long, how can we rework this in some way, because this isn't sustainable, and it's not sustainable environmentally either. It's all, there are so many different elements to this, political, social justice, changing society, how we help people, the environment, like, and how we look after ourselves as individuals, families, communities. It's all feeds into this energy. It's a challenging time for many, and it's about, and if anyone is really, you know, I know a lot of people are struggling with the loss of work and money, and it is a really, really challenging time. But whatever you can do, just try and keep bringing it back to that present moment. What do I need to do today? What can I do today, in the here and now? Because future thinking is just, it's too overwhelming right now.
Present moment awareness is such an important tool to be able to do that work of really slowing down, and then being able to have more clarity and accessing parts of ourselves that we can't when we're so overwhelmed and moving so quickly. And I also wanted to touch on your piece that you were sharing about how all of these different systems are so interconnected, and being able to be in touch with our individual macro experience while also appreciating what's happening at the macro. And I think that this is just such a complex time to be a human on the planet right now. And it is really amazing to have leaders like yourself who are sharing tools to support us during this time. And I'm wondering, just for yourself, I know you shared about your relationship with your intuition and spirit and how that's been supporting you, and how you've been connecting with others. But if there are any other leaders that you've been following or that you're connected to that have been providing any inspiration on your path as you've been seeking to stay grounded and make sense of this time.
Ooh, yeah, let me get my thinking cap on. Who have I been following that's been awesome? I want to get I'll have to think about that. Hang on a sec. Who have I been following? It's funny. I've been dipping in and dipping out of people. I've been so aware of my energy recently that I'm like,
100%.
hang on, you might have to do a bit of an edit job on that. Let me just think of who do I want to mention? There's so many different people.
Yeah, there's so many. So, and if there's not one coming to mind right now, that's okay.
There's one person that does. I'll hang on. I'll say it properly so that you can edit it and it will be clean. A couple of people that I've been following recently. Sa de Simone. He's great. He's amazing.
So fun. Oh
He's
my God.
so fun. I love him. He's been on my podcast.
Energy.
Love his energy. He's been doing this like dancing, breath work. Like if you're looking to move your energy, like insane. Like he's so good, and he shares so much wisdom. I've been loving what he's been sharing, and I also love Adrienne Marie Brown. She's phenomenal around what she's sharing around pleasure and rest and social justice in this time. I've really been loving what she's been sharing too. Yeah, those are my two standout people that I've been following. Yeah, and it's and also just a shout out to all the wellness people who are offering so much free information at this time, like the classes online that people have been offering. It's that's why I struggle to find, you know, a number, like one leader or two leaders, because everyone is really stepping up and being like, right, let's do this, we can do this as a community and we can really come together.
It is really powerful. And even just every time I get on Instagram, there's so many people that are going live and having really powerful conversations and sharing tools and information.
Yeah, it's been incredible. Yeah, so incredible.
Yes. And it does feel like there's this feeling of pivot and transformation. And I'm wondering if this is showing up for you in your life and in your work at this time.
Oh, yes. Where do we start? Oh gosh. Yeah, I within all of this, I just relaunched my new website and my new branding. So that was like a big transformation that came out on the spring equinox, and I was like, I'm relaunching and doing everything within all this craziness. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah, we're doing it. I'm also writing a book right now. So I have a book, yeah, that's coming out. It's all about how to connect to your intuition, how to connect to your intuitive power and trust your truth. And it all fits into the collective. Yeah, I'm channeling it through right now, and yeah, aiming for like an end of July, beginning of August launch date. So that has been yeah, a big pivot and transformation, as it's yeah, I'm writing away during this time too.
That's very exciting. And in terms of writing a book, this is your first book, right?
Yeah, first book.
How
And
has that experience been?
it has been such a beautiful experience. I've had this book in the works for 2 years and it never felt right to write it. And I was looking for a publisher and it just wasn't landing. And I found an editor, and she's like, you do know that we could get this book published, right? We just need to rework a few things. And I just said, I said, I am being given very specific instructions from spirit that it has to come out in 2020. I'm in the summer or fall of 2020. And if I'd gone the publishing route, it wouldn't have come out till like the end of 2021. So with everything that's happening right now, I'm like, okay, yep, this makes sense. And every single chapter in the book that has the order of the book that I've, that has been there for a while, since December of 2019, I'm writing exactly what's happening in the collective. So what every chapter is being mirrored back to me with what we've been experiencing, and I'm just like, this is so by design. I'm just writing what needs to be shared, and I'm writing, and I'm kind of laughing at my desk at the same time, like, you want me to, like, you can't make this stuff up, like,
right,
so,
that's super powerful.
Yeah, I'm excited to share it with everyone because I'm very excited by it.
Yay. And I love to ask each of our guests, what does being more connected mean to you?
Great question. Being more connected to me means being more in my own power and more in my own truth. And that's what being connected is because when I'm really stepping into my own intuitive power and my own intuitive truth, it means that I can be authentic and live an authentic life, and it just honestly, and it feels good. It feels good. And that is being more connected for me, is really using our intuitive power so that we can feel aligned, feel authentic, feel good, and make changes for ourselves and for leaders out there listening, so that you can lead better too. And it's a powerful transformational time. And we're all here for a reason. That's the thing. We're all here for a reason at this time doing this work. And it's big.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. And are there any other messages that you'd like to share with our audience before we close?
Anything else I want to share? I always channel my own, and when I do everything, I'm like, what else do you want to share? Just keep listening to your own truth and what feels good for you, and what you think to be true within you. It's a really important time for that, of really, using the space and the pause to do you, and really listen to your own inner truth and dialogue. It's a game changer.
Thank you. And how can our audience stay connected with you? Where can they find you?
So there's the podcast, So You Think You're Intuitive. There are solo episodes, my monthly energy forecasts that are channeled through, which I love. I get messages from people all around the world who are like, oh my god, Nat, it's like you're talking to me personally as an individual. And so I love doing those. I'm on Instagram. I am Natalie Miles. I share a lot of quotes and tools and things on there. And I also have a new monthly online energy collective, which is an online community gathering where we join once a month, where I basically support you for that energy for the month ahead. And I've got a new way of doing it. There's a new kind of community portal where you get access to all my old previous content, all the old energy collectives, all access to all of my guided meditations that I have, and it's basically cheaper than signing up for a one-off event. So you can sign up for a one-off event and just do that, or you can sign up on a paid monthly basis and cancel anytime, and join and get everything for as part of that, and cheaper too. So that's how people can connect with me right now.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining in on this conversation. I so appreciated the wisdom that you shared, particularly around authenticity and leadership and stepping into your truth. And I would love to have everyone join us again tomorrow for our next set of interviews for the Be More Connected Summit. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.